And for people listening, I'm sure they're thinking, what does AI have to do with the military? Can you kind of give us an introduction of what the relationship is between the military and AI?
Well, it's true, Nolan. Most of the media is ignoring the issue, with the exception of some of the military trade magazines, which are just promoting it, as a product. Most people are pretty unaware that a huge amount of the profit sectors that are going to Microsoft and OpenAI and Oracle and Google and Meta and the rest of them are coming from the Department of Defense. And the intelligence agencies, because such is the nature of the amazing AI investment bubble right now, where Microsoft and SoftBank and Teal and others will be putting literally billions of dollars into OpenAI and other chats that are being developed. Uh, uh, in return for a promise that those organizations will use their clouds to do the inference with the customers. But the problem is, and you can read it in the Financial Times or the Wall Street Journal or Barron's or any of the financial magazines, which are jumping up and down in hysteria right now, customers aren't buying this. And if you can't monetize, if there's no income for your investment, it's going to be just about the biggest horrible bubble in the history of capitalism. So, granted that a lot of these organizations like OpenAI and Google started out saying, well, we're going to do good in the world. We're not going to do contracts with genocidal maniacs like the United States or Israel and authoritarian regimes. But then, last year they completely changed their minds, and they are literally getting billions and billions of dollars in federal monies to, commit genocide or support genocide in Gaza and elsewhere in the world, and to militarize the entire military apparatus in theory. Now, I've written, this is a 10-part series that ends in January, and I've written 8 so far. The ninth will publish at the end of this month. They publish on every Thursday. And we started out with Palantir and Ann Durrell and Peter Thiel and, people that the general public has some understanding of, and showed how they have used their military contracts as basically their lifeblood, and continue to do so because their products are not selling to consumers in the way that they had anticipated. And we show how the large language models, which they are all promoting as it is integral to surveillance and reconnaissance and intelligence, and also to creating vast flotillas of autonomous weapons, whether they be submarines or airplanes or drones or satellites. Uh, that the pipe dream that they've created, which is called in one variation Joint Awareness Domain Command and Control, or JDAC, is that they can somehow sit in the Pentagon and look at a screen like we're looking at right now and see the entire global battle space displayed before them, with hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of sensors all over the world, in space, on the ground, under the ocean, all being collected by cell phone towers, literally, and transmitted back to space and then back down to the Pentagon, where they can use large language models to assess what's going on in some bush in the Ukraine or in the desert in the Sudan, and then launch a Hellfire missile against a perceived enemy without needing human approval, and to do it in nanoseconds. This is the pipe dream, and this is what is being touted by the Silicon Valley militarist oligarchs, which is basically all of them now. And they're saying that we have this magic, large language model that's going to replace human command and control systems, and we got to get it in place before China does. Now, of course, China's looking at us and going, "Well, we better get something in place before they do, right?" Because Russia and China are lagging behind us in that, because just like with nuclear missiles during the Cold War, the United States always takes the initiative. I mean, we're the only people that ever dropped the atomic bomb, right? Twice. And we're capable of doing it again, and everybody knows it. So they're
Can I
just
can I
great
can I
about it.
interject? Can I interject on something you said there? Because you made a point I want to circle back to that I think is important, and I want to get your take on this. I've been saying with the AI conversation, I think what you just said confirms this, but you tell me. I've been saying much of the AI conversation makes me feel like I'm back in 1993 rewatching what happened with the internet, right? It emerges out of this Cold War militaristic framework, so does touchscreen and GPS, and they commercialize it and they promise it's going to change all of our lives in these positive ways. Ultimately, that goes down in the dot-com bubble, and really it's reduced to a surveillance mechanism that makes a lot of money for people in Silicon Valley on government contracts tied to the military industrial complex. Is that kind of the same history you're talking about that's happening here with AI as you talk about that race?
Oh yeah, first of all, AI has been around for 70 years. I mean, this is the large language models or the chats are just the newest iteration of it. And it's really sexy because they imitate human conversation, but they're not actually having a conversation with you. They're just uh, word prediction modalities. And um, you know, Yasha Levine wrote a book a few years ago called Surveillance Valley, which I would like to plug because it was our first dive into the militarist roots of Google and the rest of Silicon Valley that got popularized because I mean, people have known about it, but they don't talk about it and haven't talked about it for years. But basically, it's the United States military and the intelligence agencies that brought along and nurtured and breastfed Silicon Valley through its formative years up until the monstrosity that it has now become. And so they're selling these products to the military for billions and billions of dollars that don't work as advertised.